Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is January 31st. Today we're going to talk about the system impacting the Pacific Northwest, all this cold air aloft moving out of the northwest here. You can see the system that brought us our gusty winds through western Washington and portions of Oregon yesterday. As it barrels through Montana and into the Dakotas here, you can see it on satellite nicely, and you can see the Puget Sound Convergence Zones setting up right now. And this is progressively going to move south through the Puget Sound there, and you can see these cold air cumulus, this unstable air as it moves onto the shoreline, bringing showers throughout the day and plenty of mountain snowfall all the way down into Oregon. And that will continue into Idaho and Montana too, where they have winter weather advisories throughout there, and they have high wind warnings also throughout much of Montana. As Arctic air is going to barrel down the east side of the Rockies all the way down to the central USA and bring cold temperatures well down into Texas. There's winter weather advisories all over the place there across the central portions of the U.S., all the way back towards Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma, up towards the Great Lakes. You see the Dakotas, high wind warnings going on, and for Montana, Wyoming there. And there's even an avalanche, I believe it's an avalanche, what is it, advisor, a watch there for portions of western Montana there. So heads up if you're going back into the backcountry there into Montana. Even Idaho and Washington have avalanche danger here coming up. And you can see this Arctic front here, since we're on this page. Check it out there. It's supposed to get south of I-90 there, a little bit further progression than what they were showing yesterday. So heads up if you're traveling eastbound through Washington into Idaho and Montana on I-90 for winter driving conditions. And this is for the Cascades of Washington here. You can see considerable avalanche danger, and go to this site here, Northwest Avalanche Center, if you want more detail. They give some pretty extreme detail as you click on each one of these sections here. And you can see they give great detail, and they talk about different aspects that cause avalanches. So again, this is the Northwest Avalanche Center, so make sure to check that out. They talk about all kinds of possible dangers as far as avalanche concerns go. So taking a closer look at the Cascades of Washington today, where there's winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings in effect, a lot of this is spurred by the Puget Sound Convergence Zone activity, as these little bands can be prolific snowmakers as they move through the area, and any stalling of those can bring enhanced snowfall and enhanced snowfall rates as we go through the day. And they're talking about the snow level being down near 1,000 feet. So heads up if you're traveling eastbound out of the Puget Sound up into the Cascades. You probably run into snow pretty quickly as you start going out of North Bend on I-90, for example, above 1,000 feet. Calling for 4 to 10 inches of new snow today, so that can be quite disruptive. You know, give the snowplows some room and have a heads up there. And we'll just go ahead and look on into what can be expected there. You can see some of these areas are going to get even higher amounts than 10 inches, as you can see. And there's winter weather advisories for also northeast Oregon into southwest Washington there too. And you can see how the snow increases as you go back into Idaho there also. And it's going to be windy conditions for eastern Washington too. So heads up if you're traveling out there, especially if you're towing a trailer or if you're in a big rig. So let's go ahead and look at what's going on here. You can see all this cold air that's spilled into our region. We're looking at the NAM 3KM high resolution model here. This is at 5,000 feet. You can see the chilly temperatures there, -5 at about 5,000 feet. And you'll notice how that cold air continues to move through and actually increases into the afternoon. And that's what's going to give us an isolated chance of a lightning strike, or, you might get 1 or 2 lightning bolts in here with a Puget Sound Convergence Zone as it progressively moves down the Sound and on into the Cascades here. No promises. The odds are not very good of it. But I also wanted to show you, check out this out here on the east side of the Rockies. Look at this Arctic air mass just barreling down on the east side of the Rockies there. So heads up if you're traveling all the way out to Montana, and this is going to impact all the way down into Texas later on into this week. And look at this chilly air just continues over the area into Tuesday afternoon. It's going to keep our convergence zone activities chances going on here for the Puget Sound, and some mountain snows all the way in through Tuesday afternoon as this cold air overspreads the region. And you can see it sag down from the north and really get into the northern Cascades and into the Rockies of Idaho even. But it never really makes it into western Washington from the continental. You notice how that terrain kind of protects us there as we're getting this northwest flow, but it's still pretty chilly aloft for us even. So here we're looking at 10,000 feet. You can see just how cold this air aloft was. You know, this broke off of some Arctic air well up north of Alaska, and it traveled over water, but at 10,000 feet, it doesn't modify too much. So you can see just how chilly that air was as it barrels into our region there. And you can see Monday afternoon, -17 at 10,000 feet. So it's cold enough to generate some convective activity. Will it bring a lightning strike or two is yet to be seen, but there is that possibility. And you can see how this cold air just kind of barrels down all the way through Nevada towards Arizona. Down there, and you can see it's really chilly east of the Rockies, even at 10,000 feet. So here is 2-meter temperature. This is at the surface, what you're going to feel out there. I wanted to show you this just to kind of highlight this Arctic air mass moving east of the Rockies. Check that out. Slides all the way down. Here we go into Tuesday afternoon. You notice we get the afternoon heating. Texas nice and warm here, well up into the 70s. But then look on Wednesday. Chilly as you wake up Wednesday morning all the way into the Texas Panhandle down into the 20s. And then on into Thursday morning, that cold front makes it all the way out to the Gulf Coast there. And 20s make it way down into Texas there too. So you can see the impact that cold front is going to have as we just kind of stay mostly mild. The Pacific Ocean dictates our weather mostly here in the Pacific Northwest. And just you can see how hard it is to get these Arctic air masses in. We're just protected by the Rocky Mountains and the Cascades. And once Arctic air takes a trajectory over the Pacific Ocean, it modifies pretty quickly at lower levels. That's why it's really hard to get us really cold here in the Pacific Northwest. And this is one good example of that. So taking a look at the North American continent here, you can see this is at 10,000 feet. You can see that big lobe of cold air that came over us aloft. And then you can see it move down with this polar lobe, I'll call it here, that moves down into the central USA. And you can see it spreads cold air well down into the all the way down towards Texas. And you can see our next system out here for the Pacific Northwest. So this is Thursday night here. And you can see this cold air here looks to bring us a system here. It doesn't look too powerful at this point, but it'll keep us being in a death ridge anyway. And then you can see the European off in the extended here as another system here as we get a little bit better dynamics. And I've been eyeing a possible windstorm out here in the extended. So we're going to watch for that, maybe a little uptick in our weather as we go into next week. In fact, let's give this a refresh here and see if this is updated any. Hour 144. Yeah, you can see that system move through there on hour 180 there. That would be next Monday night. So just kind of keep us active. And you can see more of a zonal flow over the Pacific here as the cold air stays a little bit more bottled up there over near the North Pole there. So here is what is closer to the surface here. This is 2,500 feet. You can see this cold air really moving down east of the Rockies nicely. And then our next system would be Friday, a weak system here. You can see moving to the Pacific Northwest as it passes through. Let's give this a refresh here also. And we'll check out what that looks like in the extended with that extended system. The Europeans been pretty bullish on showing this system moving through next Monday. So I'll keep my eye on that, and we'll watch that as we go day by day here. So let's take a look at some more detailed stuff now for the Pacific Northwest. This is a surface-based cape, and this is the European model. You can see how it builds a little bit across the Central Sound here. We got a progressive convergence zone coming through probably just after noon here. And you can see some cape values here. It doesn't take much cape to create a thunderstorm when you've got some good forcing with these winds converging out of the northwest and the southwest through the Chehalis Gap there. And this can produce some pretty significant snowfall quickly in areas like Snoqualmie Pass. So heads up if you're traveling out there. And, if you guys hear if you hear some thunder, if you hear that lightning strike out there, let me know on Twitter. And this is taking a look at the surface winds here. So we're getting to Monday this afternoon, and you can see some of those winds trying to move down out of the northwest, and we're getting some squirrely winds in here, classic Puget Sound Convergence Zone signature. And then we move into Tuesday here, and we're going to kind of do that again. And you can see we're getting some help with the northwest flow through the strait around Vancouver Island here. And this is going to create some convergence zone activity also across the Puget Sound Tuesday. Maybe not as strong, but we'll have to take a look at that because the air aloft might even be a little bit chillier. So I would not rule out a lightning strike for Tuesday afternoon in the Puget Sound and Convergence Zone as well, which will continue some of that snowfall through the Central Cascades and possibly the Southern Washington Cascades and Northern Oregon Cascades. As you can see, the flow becomes more northwesterly behind that, and we still got plenty of cold air aloft. So it won't take much once it starts running into that terrain to continue the snowfall. And here is the lightning flash density. I've kind of been watching this for the last 4 or 5 days. You can see this is, we're going ahead a little bit too quickly there. So let's watch this. And this is about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. So just after noon is the possibility through the Puget Sound and through Southwest Washington too. It's kind of been showing this possibility for, there's instability around. It might get a lightning strike out through Southwest Washington as well. This is the NAM 3KM, kind of highlighting that convergence zone instability here through the afternoon on Monday and through Southwest Washington. And you can see a little bit down into Oregon too. It's probably just going to be in the form of some higher terrain snowfall through the coastal range there and the Cascades of Oregon. You can see that instability kind of build up there through the afternoon, especially in Southwest Washington. Classic Puget Sound convergence zone signature going on there. Isolated lightning strike possible. And this is the European. Nope, this is the HER. Sorry, this is the HER, another high resolution model here too. So showing quite a bit of instability through the Puget Sound at about noon. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see how that kind of shifts into the central sound this afternoon and evening as the convergence zone will continue and probably progress down south through the Puget Sound through this evening. So this is looking at a sounding here for the central Puget Sound. You can see how we've got some northwest flow aloft, plenty of cold air around, and there's a little bit of instability here. As you can see on the sounding, this parcel of air would be a bit warmer than the surrounding atmosphere, so it would tend to rise, and there would be some instability around. And so if we get some converging winds and punch up through this somewhat of a stable layer here at the surface, then you could get into this, which it will happen actually. This is going to happen. There's going to be converging winds. So you're probably going to tap into this instability at some point. Will it produce lightning is another question though. Not a completely unstable, this not a lot of instability. And you can see the tops only max out about 15,000 feet here. 500 millibars is about 18,000 feet. 700 millibars about 10,000, so you're looking at 15,000 foot tops. So these aren't huge thunderstorms or anything. Pretty typical for the convergence zone here in Washington State. And here is the HER. This is taking a look at that convergence zone activity. Kind of shows where it is now, and then shows it kind of sliding down the Puget Sound here as it progresses south through the Puget Sound. We could get a lightning strike anywhere from Hoquiam towards the Cascades as this zone moves south. And it's probably underplaying the amount of precipitation that's going to be occurring, especially in the Cascades as they continue to get snowfall all the way down towards Oregon. And then as we go into Tuesday, let's go ahead and check out an earlier run with this as we can look into Tuesday a bit. Oh, did I not click the right one? There we go. The 12Z goes out to 48 hours. Every 6 hours, the HER goes out 48 hours. So here we're looking into Tuesday afternoon. You'll see some of this convergence zone activity that's helped by some northwest flow around the Vancouver Island. You can call it the Vancouver Island Convergence Zone. So we're going to get some showers going on through Tuesday morning to the afternoon there too. So it's going to continue snow into the Cascades. And a very outside chance of a lightning strike in one of these bands as it comes through the Puget Sound. And you can see a pretty good shower there showing up by Everett there, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. So yeah, I wouldn't rule out a lightning strike for tomorrow afternoon too. So a couple of days of convergence zone storm chasing if you're so inclined. And snowfall totals for the mountains here too. So check this out. This is the European, and this is looking by this afternoon. Check out all that new snow coming for the Washington Cascades, and decent amounts coming through Oregon, a little bit through the coastal ranges too, and the Olympics. See northeast Oregon getting their fair share also as you go into Idaho there too. Check it out as the snowfall and totals increase as you go east out of Washington. Some pretty good snowfall amounts by Wednesday morning here too. I mean, some places upwards of a foot. So heads up if you're traveling through the mountains, and if you want to get back on the slopes and do some snowboarding and skiing, that looks good for you there. You might see some snowflakes mixed in with some of the convergence zone activity here through, as you can see through, especially through Tuesday as that colder air aloft is moving through here, and we get some bands coming around from the northwest, and you might get some snowflakes down to the lower elevations. No major accumulations expected though, and you're not going to see freezing all the way down to the surface there. So not a big snowmaker for the lowlands for sure. And here's the HER, kind of gives you a high resolution look at that. This is looking at one of the most recent runs. This is only through Tuesday morning. It's probably underdoing these snowfall amounts by a little bit. The National Weather Service does have a winter storm warning for the central Puget Sound there. It does say 7 inches max, but it's probably underdoing the coverage of this a little bit here. So anyway, yeah, so we will go ahead and I might go out on live stream today too, depending on what the convergence zone looks like. If it looks like it might produce a nice zone through the central sound, I might go out and chase that here, and then maybe I'll do a live stream and try to catch a lightning bolt for you guys. So yeah, and I'll probably do the same on Tuesday there too, and maybe go take a look at the snow up in the mountains. So if you guys are liking these videos, click like, subscribe, and keep leaving feedback, and I'll keep trying to update how I cover things on the channel based on your preferences. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Thanks.